Evening all, welcome to Total Dust, and today we have a very sick man talking to you. I've got a cold yet again. It's going to that plague pit called London, I guess. Anyway, Merry Christmas, hope you had a good Christmas. Mine was particularly interesting. I don't remember much of it, so that must have meant it was a good one. Anyway, we're going to talk about some dusty things. We're back into the swing of these things now, so we're going to talk about something that Rattati has posted, which is his vision, as he calls it, for the future. So this is a roadmap. I think it's part of the roadmap. It's kind of the basis or the pillars of the roadmap. And I'm going to talk to you through your ears right now about it and give you my thoughts on it, because it's quite exciting. And I guess it's the kind of thing that we've wanted for some time. Again, the motivations behind why they're doing it is interesting to me, because they said they weren't going to do this, and many other things. So we'll talk about it with a little bit of an analytical, critical eye, and let's get on with it. So really what it comes down to is planetary conquest and the changing of that. And I never really thought of it like this, because it's all based around the war barge. Now, I did not know that we had personal war barges. I didn't know that. I thought we had one war barge per corp or something, I don't know. And wherever that war barge went was then what you did with it. But apparently now, so you're now able to build and upgrade their personal war barges. Oh, okay, so maybe this isn't what I'm thinking. Okay, well, either way, that's cool. And it'll become the center of your power base. And the idea is that you'll basically invest resources into it. You'll build modules for it. That provide bonuses and and this will start to basically build. Will give you a reason to fight that's more than just winning. So that's pretty. I like that. That's pretty interesting. That's very Eve look at it. I like the Eve focus there. I think that's kind of phase one. So the first phase is obviously just to get it off the ground. You'll have some form of war barge that in essence is your kind of little spaceship. So very Star Wars. I like that. That's kind of cool. So then it'll go on to phase two. So this is when Rattati continues, and it's going to talk about really how a corporation will be measured on the collective war barge fleets. So again, very Eve, very typical like Eve. That you're a pilot in a ship, and then your power is measured by how you can collect those ships together in a corporation or a fleet or an alliance or whatever. So I quite like it. I think there's a lot of potential here, so and I think this is going to be pretty cool. And it's tentatively, so really the bonuses of the corporation start to come in, which again Rattati is tentatively called War Barge Command. So having a fleet commander or a general, I guess, means that you'll then start to get modules that will work once you've got a big enough corporation and blah blah blah. And again, measured by loyalty points and so on and so on. It's really going to be something that I think very much so will start elite cliques within a corporation. So, I like this. I think this is really good. So I'm just reading now. So the introduction of the War Barge Clone Vats module, where clone packs can be built with regular intervals, allowing corporations without districts to launch relatively free risk attacks on districts. So that's the beginning of raiding. So that's pretty cool. I love that. I think that is exactly what people want. This is all great. And let me just pause there for a second before we go on to phases 3 and 4. This is really exciting. This is the kind of additional functions that really should have been here in Uprising. And I know I'm going to kind of do Captain Hindsight with his superpower of hindsight. But the reality is, it is kind of a little bit too late. The horse has already bolted. So for this to work, there needs to be more players playing the game. Now, again, I don't know how many people play the game, but from my point of view, it feels like every time I log in, I'm fighting the same 30 or 40 people now. It used to be 100, now it's like 30 or 40 people, and that makes me a sad panda. So while I love the idea of these things, this is great, but let's just talk about a further problem that this will likely produce. Is the elite players of the game who are really playing, hardcore playing right now, will all of a sudden have a reason to go raid in Planetary Conquest. So they can log on, they can then just play immediately in that kind of game mode. And the problem with that is that then all of a sudden the public matches will become ghost towns. even more so. So all of a sudden you've got potential new players who find the game, download it, install it, get a suit, load up a game, and then go to run a match, and then all of a sudden there's nobody there, and you've got the Titanfall problem, which is new players want to play Titanfall, but there's not enough people in the servers to even kick a game off. Now that will kill the game dead. So while these ideas are lovely to keep veteran players playing, the reality is that consequential drip of players out at the top does need to be placed by a drip of players in at the bottom. Otherwise your player numbers will drop to a couple of hundred eventually, and that is death to the game. So I mean, it's great that this content's coming in, it's exciting, I love it, but there still needs to be a bit more focus on getting new players in. Now I know there's a whole piece of the roadmap aimed at new players, etc., but it's almost as if they need to rename the game and they need to just rebrand it. What they should do, just throwing an idea out there, and my consultative service is very reasonable, CCP, is you should call this Project Legion. You should call this Legion, Dust Legion, or Eve Legion, whatever you want to call it, now. So that when it migrates to the PC, it can then be an augmented version of it. I really do think you should do that, because then you'll get another review. Okay, you might get a more favourable review because some reviews weren't great. But then again, that's not the end of the world. It just needs that kind of push. I think the name Dust 514 is tainted when you come to the kind of gaming zeitgeist. It's already tainted. And I suspect that the best thing they could do is rebrand it. You don't have to call it Legion, just call it, Eve Battles or Eve Planetary Assault or something cool like that, and just add a few more functions and then re-release it and see if you can get a better kind of feedback. That will get more players in, I think, I'm pretty sure, but I think also it will give you then the basis. You can't do this elitist style war barge personalization, corporation invading and attack without the foundation of a very steady flow of players at the bottom who are going to then fill up where these veteran players leave from. Okay, now that's the problem with Eve at the moment. Eve Online is not in a great place in my opinion, because there's just this huge critical mass of very veteran elite players who will always play the game pretty much regardless, and they have just throttled Deep Space to a standstill. This is mostly because they're making real money from that. They're making real money from selling products in Deep Space that they have complete chokehold control over. And anybody who gets a bit powerful and threatens that is immediately then bought into that. So it's just a massive collective bargaining kind of agreement. And it does mean that the very powerful parties do control Deep Space. And it also means that the whole thing's stagnated. CCP need to understand that it's very well having this kind of hands-off approach to game management, but the arrogance of them is that they think they're cleverer than the people who play their games. And I can tell you categorically it's the other way round. These people are manipulating the situation. So we don't want that to happen in Dust, because that very quickly will become a problem. Already we know that real money trading is going on in this game. If you don't think it's going on, if you don't see it, you're blind, because it's evidently there. And you see it every day on eBay, people selling paper clips and then a load of Dust disc. You've got people who have just made significant money from whatever it may be, PC, when it was broken, who are now selling that. To be honest, I don't care. I actually don't have a problem with that. I think, if CCP don't want to do anything about it, it's their game, not mine. But I think that it's those kind of scenarios that do then throttle the game completely. I remember Eve, I've played Eve from the start. And I remember Eve when these kind of agreements weren't in place, Deep Space moved a lot. People fought and attacked each other. There was a real kind of fun element because it was just a game. When it became a business, when people start making money off it, then it no longer is a game. And there will be collective reasons why they will throw almost an entire alliance at you to stop you taking what they have, because they actually they pay their rent and they pay their gas for their car by this game. And I think if CCP don't realise this is going on, they're morons, because it is. And you see it every day. People talk about it openly in gangs as well. Oh, so-and-so is real money trading, so-and-so is real money trading. And I sit there and think, really? And it just seems a common occurrence that that's the way it is. Anyway, I think carrying on, that's our little segue. Moving swiftly on, you then go into phases, let's have a look, phase 3. So this step would combine war barge fleets and ownership of districts, making districts the crux of any powerful corporation. So this would then draw in the fact that if you own districts, this is where you then have the ability to then build a larger kind of power base based upon that. So a corporation owning districts will be able to then launch, as they say, guerrilla attacks against other coordinated attacks, blah blah blah. So it's quite a nice idea. So there could be something quite interesting about having not only a corporation fleet of war barges, but you could then have quite an interesting kind of power base. But then it also leaves you vulnerable because you're then going to be attacked. So we'll have to see. Then phase 4 goes into probably the most interesting and also the most concerning one for me, which is the reason to claim, own and harvest districts by general is resources. So, these could be resources found and claimed by dust mercenaries sold into the EVE universe. Okay, so that automatically starts to bring about a reason that EVE has to then, I think, be interested in dust. So that's a good thing. Okay. The bad thing is that it could really cause real money trading and this kind of thing to begin. I mean, there's not a lot you can do to get away from these kind of scenarios. Well, there is actually. Don't play games where they allow real money trading. I mean, that's the obvious one. There's not many games that really have managed to remove it. And the reason it's such I guess, an insidious factor is that it does bring about a very different change of priorities when playing a game, because I would play a game, and if I'm beaten, I'm beaten. But if I'm making money from the game, then I'm going to play that game totally differently. I'm going to beat you however I can, and I'm going to cheat however I can to make sure that I hold on to the thing that makes me money. But it's kind of an interesting thing, because then it does become a massive fight between two parties who are both trying to make money, real life money, from these resources. And it's kind of a mind F when you think about it, that this even exists. I've never done it myself. I don't get it. I don't see the point of it. I've always been fabulously wealthy in these games, and I guess the reason I have been is because I don't sell it. But there are huge numbers and problems with things like bots in EVE. There always has been, and I think there's always going to be problems in Dust because of anything that gives you money easily. And the fact that a lot of people don't want to play the game to earn their money. They just want to buy a load of money off eBay and then run prototype continuing. I mean, that requirement is never going to go away. But I think it's dangerous, and I think this is something that I think would very quickly push me from the game, is that if real money trading was not, I think, observed, stepped on and controlled, you'll never remove it, but you can control it, then fair enough, I would feel a lot better. But there's just, I know that there's bannings going on, because I heard some very, very high-level, top-tier players who no longer play anymore don't play because they quit. They don't play anymore because they were caught real money trading. I know this, and I'm not going to share their name because, again, I was told in confidence. And this is kind of funny to me, because it obviously is being cracked down upon somewhat. But I suspect that with this addition of resources in Dust going to EVE, a whole new mindset is going to draw into this game, where all of a sudden you'll have regimented gangs of people from different parts of the world and different parts of the social strata who will come into the game with just one mindset to control and produce a flow of material, effectively, so that can then be sold for real money. And I think that's going to be pretty scary. And yeah, again, there's nothing we can do about it. But I think I really urge CCP not to do it. So, not like Dysprosium. I mean, that was always the one I remember. Promethium and Dysprosium were basically just the bottlenecks, and I think they still are. I don't know, because I don't play EVE as much as I did, but they seem to be the bottlenecks before. So that if you had control of them, you pretty much could name your price. You could sell them for a massive, massive number, and then you could also then just sit on an absolute wealth. But then what's the point of having trillions of ISK? Because you can't do anything with it other than sell it to idiots who'll give you dollars for it. And that's what happened. And the same has happened with botting. The same has happened across the board. So I don't think these are kind of pandemics. I think the reality is these are just kind of foibles of playing a game such as this. So I don't think we're about to be zombied to death. But I just think if there's anything they can do to restrain that level of bollocks would be good. So we go. A few more things. Simple trading, battle quality. I don't know what that is. Matchmaking. Yeah, okay. So they're working on the quality of battles. That's good. Recruiting tools. Well, okay. Who are you going to recruit? Seriously. There we go. So I think it's an interesting time. I think it's kind of funny that they're doing these things, these changes. I think it's very odd as well that they're doing so many kind of developments to a game that they kind of said with Legion was going to be on that. So, you know, obviously something's happened. Obviously Legion can't get the go-ahead for some reason. We'll talk about that more next time. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.